In a vast galaxy, pilot Zorak crash lands on a mystical planet where giants hail him as their prophesied savior. Entrusted with their hopes, he must confront daunting trials while battling his own doubts. As destinies intertwine, Zorak faces a perilous choice: fulfill their legend or forge his own path. How far will he go when the stakes are everything? Don't forget to subscribe. 91% of viewers enjoy our content but forget to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you'll stay up to date with our daily sci-fi stories and support a dedicated team of storytellers and content creators who rely on this as their livelihood. The metal hull of Zorak's ship screamed against the unseen atmosphere, an unearthly cacophony of alarms blaring through the cramped cockpit. Jagged streaks of lightning illuminated the charcoal clouds that loomed ominously in the distance, twisting like serpents, as if alive and determined to claw at the ship's wounded frame. Zorak felt the raw power of the chaos surrounding him, his mind racing with the unsettling thought that this could be the final navigation of his solitary existence. "This can't be how it ends," he muttered, gripping the controls with desperate determination. The ship bucked and shuddered, tearing through saturated air thick with static energy. In a violent burst of defiance, it spiraled downward toward the breathtaking unknown, the view outside shifting from chaos to the serene beauty of an alien world. With a final, fearsome screech, the ship collided with the alien soil, sending plumes of shimmering dust upwards like fireworks in the night. Consciousness slipped like sand through Zorak's fingers, blurring into the depths of darkness. When Zorak regained consciousness, the first sensation that washed over him was the crisp, fresh air, infused with an oddly sweet aroma reminiscent of wildflowers. He blinked against the glaring light of the peculiar sun hanging in the azure sky. As he pushed himself up from the shattered remains of his cockpit, the stark green landscape seemed almost surreal. Gnarled trees twisted in impossible shapes around him, their leaves glimmering with an ethereal glow, casting confounding shadows on the ground that danced without the wind. The sound of distant thunder rumbled, jarring him from his thoughts. Before he could fully gather his bearings, the earth itself trembled beneath him, and from the twilight of the forest emerged towering figures. Massive giants with bronze-toned skin and sharply chiseled features that seemed to tell stories of ages past. Their eyes were piercing, a striking azure that inspected him as if he were nothing more than an intriguing specimen. "Stranger, you have come," one of the giants declared, her voice resonating like a drumbeat that sent vibrations through the air. The sight of her, a fierce warrior adorned in intricately woven silver armor, tattoos spiraling around her arms, stirred a mix of fascination and dread within Zorak. He could hardly meet her gaze. "The prophecy speaks of your arrival. Come, you are needed." Zorak's stomach twisted with a cocktail of awe and anxiety as they enveloped him in their powerful grips, lifting him toward the heart of their temple. A structure magnificently built of stones that shimmered as though each brick was a star, twinkling in their own right. He found himself meticulously cataloging the opulence around him, his mind bursting with questions. What had he become a part of? Did he truly arrive here destined for greatness, or was this all some mistake? As the giants carried him, Zorak's thoughts spiraled, grappling with the implications of his crash. Thoughts of home, the sleek corridors of his vessel, and the vastness of space were quickly overshadowed by the mysterious world now surrounding him. A cacophony of voices thrummed through the air, filled with excitement and reverence. The realization hit him hard. Despite his circumstances, he was no longer a mere pilot lost in the void. He might indeed hold a significance beyond the realms of his own understanding. Inside the temple, the atmosphere pulsed with a blend of reverence and excitement. Zorak stood in the center of the grand hall, the high vaulted ceiling echoing the lively voices of his hosts, the towering giants. He could hardly process the intricate carvings adorned across the walls, each representing a pivotal scene from their ancient past, great battles, celestial phenomena, and the legendary saviors who had walked among them before. The colors seemed almost too vivid, casting an otherworldly glow that made the airfield charged with energy and expectations. As the sepulchral fragrance of incense wafted through the air, Zorak felt a twinge of unease. The giants heaved with excitement around him, their laughter crashing against the echoing stone like waves upon a shoreline. But he was overwhelmed. They believed him to be someone special, their long-awaited prophecy incarnate. Though he was just a solitary pilot, stranded on a foreign world with little more than courage and determination to hold on to. "You will lead us to victory," bellowed Thalmar, one of the giants whose muscular frame towered above the rest. His skin glistened under the glow of the temple's lights, adorned in swirling tattoos that depicted battles won and alliances forged through cosmic storms. Zorak's heart sank. He couldn't fathom the thought of leading an entire civilization into battle. What kind of victory could be obtained without his knowledge of warfare? Thalmar approached Zorak, his voice lowering to a conspiratorial tone. "We have waited for this moment for eons. With your strength, we shall bring down the meteors that rain upon our kin." "Strength? You see the wrong man here." Zorak stammered in disbelief, shaking his head. "I'm merely a pilot. I'm not a warrior." "Silence, Great One," they chorused, their voices rising in a harmonious roar that drowned out his protests. As they lifted him with ease, Zorak squirmed in their grip, bewildered yet unable to resist. He found himself moved towards the altar at the heart of the temple, where an enormous idol stood, its form a seraphic amalgamation of metal and stone, glinting under the fractured light that seeped through the roof. The figure bore an uncanny resemblance to Zorak, its facial structure a distorted match to his own. A creeping chill ran down his spine as he contemplated the implications. Why would they create an effigy of a being that echoed his own appearance? Days passed in a whirlwind of ritualistic expectations, festivals, and duties that Zorak never anticipated being part of. Each day he was awakened by the melodic chimes of their morning hymns, followed by vibrant feasts that featured concoctions both foreign and intriguing. The giants displayed immense joy in their festivities, yet every laugh felt like a reminder of his isolation. He was perpetually out of place. Every encounter with the mystical giants filled his heart with dread but also sparked a curiosity. The giants dressed in flowing garments that shimmered as if woven from stardust, each suit specified for the ritual celebrations planned in his honor. Zorak struggled to adapt to the peculiarities of their culture. "You must dance," a giantess named Alara insisted, her eyes bright with mirth. She demonstrated the intricate footwork, incorporating pirouettes and acrobatic flourishes that left Zorak gaping, breath catching in his throat. Tentatively, he mimicked her steps. His movements were jagged, his rhythm disjointed, sending ripples of laughter through the throng of giants around him. They were a joyful crowd, their boisterous laughter ringing in his ears, feeding the growing sense of unease within him. Was this how a savior was supposed to feel? "What do they expect of me?" he muttered, running a palm over his damp forehead. The weight of their anticipation sat heavy on his shoulders, a burden he felt unworthy to bear. As the weeks blurred into a relentless sequence of spirited gatherings and outlandish tasks, another giantess, Cleria, took notice of Zorak's burgeoning anxiety. With a thoughtful gaze that contrasted sharply with the boisterous demeanor of her kin, she knelt beside him one day. "You must embrace your destiny, Zorak," Cleria encouraged succinctly, her voice layered with an unexpected calm. "We believe in you despite the flickers of doubt haunting you." Her encouragement was fuel for his spiraling uncertainty. Despite their assurance, Zorak couldn't shake the feeling that he was teetering on the brink of an abyss. Every day, the giants spoke of tales intertwined with prophecy, of them invoking stars to grant warriors powers beyond comprehension. Yet the heart of their stories eluded him. Where was the battle? The power? Each mention of their great savior fueled his internal conflict. In the hushed privacy of the temple one evening, removed from the revelry, Zorak gazed into a polished surface of the idol, searching for some semblance of wisdom that might guide him. "Who do you think I am?" he whispered to his own reflection. The surface shimmered back, eyes betraying the ache of fear and doubt swelling within his chest. "You think I can withstand your expectations? Lead them against cosmic storms? I'm just a man." As resolve settled like dust upon his heart, Zorak made an alliance with the uncertainty that was brewing. He found solace in long walks through the meandering forests, contemplating the purpose of this bewildering prophecy. The flora sang a different tune here, a whisper in the binary of alien and familiar. He would observe the glowing flora that had taken root amidst gnarled trees, their trunks twisting and arching skyward, blending into an ethereal glow that blanketed the landscape. But just as he began to fathom his place within this grand spectacle, the tension mounted to a crescendo. One late evening, under a canopy of shimmering stars, he joined the tribal council in their stone amphitheater, an open space that echoed with age-old chants. The chieftain, adorned in interstellar breastplates, stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. "Should you fail in the sacred ritual, your fate is the trial of shame," she thundered, her voice slicing through the silence like a comet. The gravity of her words sent shockwaves through him. Zorak could feel the stomach-churning grasp of dread settle within him. "Trial of shame? You mean the one where I might not survive?" he replied incredulously. Some laughter clinging from the giants stumbled upon the words, their dread lost in the euphoria of the narrative that danced playfully amongst them. Zorak's heart raced, the stakes sky-high. His discomfort became paranoia as he questioned if these giants could truly rely on his abilities. Tension crackled through the air as Zorak stood before the tribal council, the weight of expectation anchoring him to the ground. The council formed a semicircle around him, each giant formidable and intensely focused, their bronze skin glistening under the luminous glow of the temple's bioluminescent flora. Zorak's heart raced, each thud resonating with a reminder of the stakes looming just beyond the horizon of his comprehension. The chief of the tribe, a towering figure with fierce tattoos etched into her skin, a tapestry of stories and legends that stretched beyond time, stepped forth. Her name was Kaorsha, and her voice roared like thunder, filling the cavernous interior of the temple. "Should you fail in the sacred ritual, your fate is the trial of shame," she warned, eyes narrowing as she surveyed the gathering. The weight of her words crashed over Zorak like a wave, leaving him breathless. "You mean the trial where I might not survive?" he replied incredulously, a mix of defiance and dread lacing his tone. The council members nodded in unison, their expressions grim, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Their commitment to tradition outweighed all else, even if it meant placing an unprepared pilot at the precipice of danger. His mind swirled in a maelstrom of disbelief and anxiety. "What if I can't do this?" he whispered to himself, gripping a nearby pillar for stability. "What if my failure leads to their doom?" Yet, the gravity of Zorak's circumstances was compounded by something worse than fear, despair. Around him, laughter echoed unsettlingly as the giants prepared for the ritual. One after another, they demonstrated their prowess in a series of awe-inspiring displays, each act a testament to their strength and heritage. They showcased their elaborate dueling techniques, their massive weapons gleaming ominously under the temple lights. Each clash of metal rang through the chamber like a warning bell, and the stakes only seemed to rise. Amid this storm of activity, Zorak found fleeting moments of camaraderie, moments where he could look beyond the expectations of prophecy and peek at the culture that surrounded him. His newfound companion, a giantess named Shalana, often stood beside him, her captivating indigo eyes filled with curiosity. Shalana was unlike the others. While her stature rivaled most, her demeanor was laced with warmth and a spirit of mischief. She sported intricately woven braids that cascaded down her back, adorned with tiny intricate beads representing her family's achievements. "You must embrace your destiny, Zorak," she encouraged succinctly one evening, warmth radiating from her voice. "We believe in you." As they trained together, learning to read the ancient runes inscribed throughout the temple, Zorak found solace in her presence. Their bond deepened over an unexpected shared laughter when Shalana attempted to teach him their traditional warrior dance. He stumbled, nearly colliding with the symbolic effigy of their deity. "Perhaps the stars have chosen a comical savior," Shalana laughed, her voice like music, as they both fell to the ground, helpless with laughter. Yet, beneath the playful banter, Zorak couldn't shake the growing anxiety. He was caught in a delicate dance between their reverence for him and his self-doubt. Days melted into a blur of preparation and trepidation, each dawn igniting new fears that clawed at his spirit. "What are they truly asking of me?" he pondered. As Zorak waited for the ritual to commence, he noticed the hall transformed into a vibrant tapestry of color and sound. Adornments of feathers and intricate designs hung from the walls, glowing softly under the light of the bioluminescent flora. The atmosphere buzzed with energy, anticipation palpable as the giants congregated, their deep voices echoing in a harmonious chant that resonated in his bones. The council's preparation intensified. They began to summon the spirits of their ancestors, invoking age-old powers that flowed through the temple like an ancient river. Ritualistic fires roared to life, illuminating the space with an otherworldly glow. The aroma of fragrant herbs filled the room, conjuring vivid images of battles fought and victories gained. Every intricate motion, every rhythmic chant drew him further into their world, and he felt an unsettling pull, a desire to claim a spot within their storied history. The day of the ritual arrived, and Zorak stood at the altar, adrenaline coursing through him like the relentless pull of gravity. He felt utterly alone, every towering figure observing him with a mix of expectation and hope, the weight of an entire civilization resting on his shoulders. As the elders draped ceremonial cloths around him, blending his form with that of their cherished legends, Zorak began to realize how entwined his fate had become with theirs, a shocking truth that ignited the flame of responsibility within him. He could feel the energy radiating from the giants as they began their incantations, an exhilarating force that danced around him. The sonic waves vibrated within his core, almost as if he were becoming part of that very essence they revered. Yet confusion still clouded his mind. "I can't go through with this," he thought, desperate for clarity amidst the fervor surrounding him. As the giants chanted louder, Zorak hesitated, grasping for understanding. In that moment of uncertainty, as if conjured by some higher force, an idea struck him. A daring instinct urged him to connect with the tradition rather than merely comply. As he inhaled deeply, he instinctively raised his thumb in homage to the sky, a gesture of both humility and surrender. The ritual sounds evaporated into silence as the giants halted, staring in disbelief. "What does this mean?" one giant whispered, eyes wide, while another squinted, trying to grasp the significance of such an abrupt interruption. Dubious, yet also intrigued, the elders exchanged glances, eyes narrowing in contemplation. With that simple gesture, rooted in a blend of both innocence and rebellion. Zorak unknowingly invoked a response from the cosmos. It was as if the air itself reverberated with newfound energy, sparking a chain of response within the assembly. "Grand Pollux of Destiny," an elder finally declared, as the crowd erupted into tumultuous applause, the weight of a generations-old prophecy shattering like glass. The air buzzed with admiration and anticipation. Caught between exultation and dread, Zorak suddenly realized his role had shifted again, and as he caught Shalana's eyes, he felt a flicker of something he hadn't noticed before: hope. There, alight with belief, she raised her spear in defiance, the surrounding giants echoing her valor. Yet still, uncertainty gnawed at him. The air inside the temple was electric, crackling with an intensity that felt as though it could ignite at any moment. Zorak stood at the altar, caught between the weight of the tribe's expectations and the gnawing fear in his gut. He was surrounded by towering pillars carved from iridescent stone, each one reflecting the flickering light of luminescent orbs that floated just above the ornate altars. The scent of incense hung heavily, a blend of sweet and spicy, creating an otherworldly haze that wrapped around him like a cloak. Chants rose and fell, resounding through the vast chamber, a rhythmic cadence that resonated deep within his bones. The giants, clad in vibrant hues of deep red and gold, were a sea of anticipation. Their massive forms loomed like ancient gods, adorned with intricate beadwork and chains of polished stones, each a symbol of their heritage and strength. Zorak couldn't shake the trance-like state that seemed to grip them, a collective belief woven into the fabric of their existence, and at the very center of this faith stood him, a confused pilot engulfed in the fervor. "Zorak, chosen one," the chief declared, her voice rolling like thunder. The urgency in her tone reverberated through the crowd, catching the ears of the aged and the young alike, pulling everyone into the gravity of the moment. "Today is the day we move towards our destiny. With your guidance, we will conquer the darkness that looms." His heart raced as he stammered, "I can't, this isn't who I am." But the crowd's energy drowned his doubts, their eyes shining with fierce conviction. Beneath that shattered confidence, a flicker of vulnerability ignited, and he fought against the rising tide of anxiety. The intensity of their belief was a double-edged sword, a powerful force that both terrified and exhilarated him. Quietly, he envied their unyielding faith, a stark contrast to the uncertainty that defined his own life. Momentarily, the thought danced in his mind: what if the universe had just made a mistake? What if he was not their savior but merely a misfit embroiled in their sacred plans? Still, the powerful giants surrounded him, drawing him into a vortex of hope they had desperately clung to. As the chanting reached a fever pitch, Zorak felt compelled by their energy. The anticipation in their gazes turned into an overwhelming pressure. "Time is fleeting, and so is our chance," yelled a voice from the crowd, breaking through the rhythmic noises. Driven by an instinct he didn't quite comprehend, he raised his hand instinctively, with his thumb pointed toward the sky, an ancient gesture of supplication he had, out of desperation, adopted. Silence fell as if the universe had taken a breath. The giants hesitated, their movements stilled, and the air became thick with confusion and curiosity. Whispers rustled through the gathered crowd like leaves in the wind. "What does this mean?" a deep voice questioned from the back, the speaker's awe hanging palpable as they awaited an explanation that neither Zorak nor the others could provide. Caught within this surreal moment, Zorak fought to mask his inner turmoil. He realized that in trying to reach for an escape, he had inadvertently summoned a cultural significance he had overlooked. Suns interlaced in the designs of their clothing. The sky gods were lighting up in their eyes as they traversed the unknown path of existence. "Grand Pollux of Destiny," a giantess finally murmured in wonder, her voice slicing through the tension. "It's the sign of the one who will lead us onward." The words throbbed in his chest, their weight heavy and foreign. This dramatic shift not only changed the ritual's course but also carved his identity deeper into their entwined fables. A role he had never asked for yet found himself reluctantly touring. Fear wrestled against an odd sense of purpose, and Zorak discovered a cruel irony. He had fled his mundane life only to be thrust into something even more chaotic. With the ritual's tension released into a newfound excitement, the warriors and tribespeople erupted in jubilant cries, their jubilation echoing through the cavernous space. Still, within Zorak raged the remnants of his anxiety, threatening to drown him. "What have you done?" A whisper slipped from his dry lips, carrying the weight of dread that threatened to consume him. He felt like a mere pawn on an infinitely larger chessboard, with stakes beyond his understanding. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted once more. A distant rumble echoed beyond the temple walls, a sound like the growl of a great beast awakening from a slumber. Zorak turned his gaze towards the massive entrance, where shadows slithered ominously across the threshold. It felt as if the alien world itself was reacting to the zeal of the crowd, setting off a chain reaction that echoed through the deep-rooted spirituality interwoven with their very existence. "What now?" Zorak wondered aloud, but his voice was drowned in the cacophony surrounding him. The giants stepped back, their expressions merging into one of an ancient fear, of prophecies long whispered in dark corners of their history. The earth trembled underfoot, heavy with an impending sense of doom that gnawed at Zorak's nerves. "We have provoked the shadows," hissed the chief, her earlier fervor evaporating like mist before the sun. Her grand stature collapsed under the sudden strain of newfound uncertainty. "We must protect the chosen one." Even as she said the words, Zorak could feel the swell of dread creeping beneath his skin. He backed away instinctively, momentarily caught in the drama unfolding before him. The giants began forming a protective circle around him, a sea of lances and shields emerging from the chaos, their earlier exuberance now replaced with a solemnity he could feel seeping into the very marrow of their bones. As the rumblings grew fiercer, activity around the altar escalated. The once celebratory atmosphere had transformed into one of dire urgency, with the tribe frantically preparing. Zorak could feel the energy pulsating through the air, a chaotic rhythm of worry and strength. Each thud of a warrior's heart resonated like an impending storm beckoning on the horizon. "Stand firm, warriors of the Lumana," cried a booming voice. An elder emerged, her stature hunched but sharp, the embodiment of resilience etched into her furrowed brow. She raised her arms as she approached Zorak, imbuing the moment with an unspoken understanding. "Your journey has just begun. We will not let our fate rest upon mere chance." Zorak's eyes locked with hers, desperate to find solace amid the turmoil. With each shaky breath, he felt the pulse intertwining him with these beings, their hopes reflecting like shimmering galaxies swirling beyond the black void. As the celebration erupted into a cacophony of jubilant songs, Zorak found himself suspended among the very beings who had once regarded him as an enigma. The towering giants hoisted him above their heads, their laughter echoing off the ornate temple walls, reverberating within him like a drumbeat of acceptance. "We have found our savior," they hollered, their voices carrying through the air, a chorus of praise that melted the walls Zorak had built around his heart. In that electrifying moment, the weight of expectation shifted, and what once felt like a burden morphed into an exhilarating sense of belonging. Yet, even amidst the cheers and colorful displays of reverence, doubt flickered in Zorak's mind. Was he truly worthy of this designation? What did it mean to be their savior? His mind raced as visions of echoing laughter mingled with the fragmented memories of his life before the crash. The green scene danced around him, vibrant and alive, The alien flora shimmered in iridescent hues, reflecting the otherworldly glow that filled the temple. Gnarled trunks twisted towards the ethereal sky, while bioluminescent vines weaved through the air like playful specters. Each element of this alien world amplified the surreal nature of Zorak's predicament, draping his memories in nostalgia for the Earth he had left behind. Zorak, Grand Pollux of Destiny, called one particularly exuberant giantess, her bronze skin catching the glimmers of the ceremonial lights. You are now one of us. Your journey has just begun. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and for a fleeting moment, he allowed himself to believe. The pendant they gifted him hung heavily around his neck, pulsing with an energy that seemed to resonate with his very soul. Will it keep me safe? He asked her, his brow furrowing with uncertainty. Will it bring you strength? She beamed at him, her confidence unwavering. It will remind you of who you are and where you came from. Never forget us. Zorak nodded thoughtfully, taking in the warmth of her words. The pendant felt radiant against his chest, a token infused with both personal and collective destiny. As he gazed into the crowd of giants, joy spread through him despite his lingering doubt. Each giant stood united, and in that moment, he wanted more than anything to be worthy of their faith. Hours seemed to pass as the festivities swirled around him, a whirlwind of colors and laughter, but at the precipice of midnight, a solemn quiet crept into the air. The community gathered around Zorak, their expressions shifting to a more serious demeanor. The chief, adorned in her ceremonial garb, stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. Brave Zorak, she began, the flickering flames casting shadows upon her magnificent form. You have felt the pulse of our people and become part of us. But with this honor comes a great responsibility. What will you take from this moment? Zorak inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of her words settle within him. I hadn't thought about it like that, he admitted, a hint of trepidation escaping his lips. I'm a pilot, a wanderer. I never meant to become someone of importance. But you are, she insisted, intensity flickering in her eyes. You have opened our hearts, and in return, we offer you our spirits. Will you carry our stories back to your stars? The silence was poignant as he reflected upon her words. The stars stretched infinitely beyond, a constellation of possibilities. If he returned to space with the tales of these magnificent beings, their culture would live on through him. I will, he declared, his voice strong yet poignant. I will honor your faith and tell your stories. As dawn broke, painting the world in hues of orange and gold, Zorak found himself on the edge of the temple grounds, ready to depart. The mounting excitement mixed with a bittersweet melancholy as he faced the thrumming heart of the alien world he had come to cherish. The ship loomed in the distance, yet it felt less like a vessel of escape and more like a gateway to new adventures that awaited him. His heart ached as he turned to face the giants one last time. Thank you for believing in me. For seeing a savior in me when I couldn't see it in myself. Zorak spoke, voice trembling with emotion. A chorus of gratitude mingled with chants echoed in response, washing over him like a warm tide. The connections he had built within such a short time filled him with a strange warmth, a blend of love, respect, and an inexplicable bond forged in hope. In the moments leading up to his departure, Zorak watched as they gathered, arms raised, the pendant's light reflecting in their astonished eyes. He felt a swell of pride and longing, understanding that he was leaving behind more than just a planet. He was leaving behind a piece of his heart, intertwined with their fates. As he stepped aboard the ship, Zorak couldn't shake the vivid images of the alien landscape and the giants who had welcomed him into their world. Those ironclad warriors with laughter like thunder and their fierce belief in a promise carved into the lore of their civilization. Each became a part of his very being. With the control panel aglow, he initiated the systems, the ship humming to life, an extension of his will. As the engines roared and the vessel broke free from the anchoring embrace of the planet, Zorak stole one last glance out of the viewport. The landscape whooshed by, filled with dewy giants waving him off against the backdrop of multicolored skies. Sometimes, the most extraordinary adventures begin when you least expect them, Zorak reflected, setting the ship's course towards the constellations sprinkled across the cosmic canvas. The drifting stars beckoned him into the eternity of space, inviting him to share the tales he had gathered and the wisdom gifted to him by the Federation of Giants. He grasped the pendant tightly, its warmth seeping into his skin, an emblem of his journey, an anchor in both worlds. And the power of a single gesture can alter lives forever, he whispered to himself, camouflaging a smile that masked both uncertainty and promise. As the ship glided through the ether, Zorak knew that the path ahead would undoubtedly be fraught with challenges, yet illuminated by the knowledge that he was never alone. Where he had once feared the unknown, he now embraced it. The cosmos lay before him, vast and unpredictable, each adventurer's dream. In the silent void of space, he found solace, a reminder that within the untamed realms of existence, extraordinary narratives pulse, waiting to be unveiled, and within every ambiguity lies the essence of what it means to be truly alive. The conclusion of this chapter invites readers to reflect on the nature of destiny and the interconnectedness of lives, urging them to embrace the unknown and to carry the stories that shape their identities with grace and courage. In the universe's vast embrace, every choice leads to unforeseen dimensions of existence. If you liked this story based on real events, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to like it. Here you can dive into a different reality every day, where anything can happen. Comment below what kind of story you would like to hear here. Thank you very much for your attention. We are the Sci-Fi family.